Hi everyone, welcome to Dave's Bonsai. On today's episode, we're putzing in the plant room. It's been another spectacular day outside. We've had highs in the low 40s. We're expecting upper 30s, low 40s for the next week or two, well into December. This is the 1st of December and the weather has just been beautiful. I don't have anything to work on outside at the moment, so I thought I would do a little putzing in the plant room. So here we are. We'll give you a couple updates and we'll work on a couple of trees. The first one I want to talk about is this melon seed cutting from several years ago from a workshop about 4 years ago, 3-4 years ago. And you can see it looks like a nice little shohin tree, less than 8 inches from the top of the pot to the top of the tree. It's got some nice movement all the way around. As I circle this thing 360, it's kind of a decent looking small tree. But we eventually will have to pick some branches that we're going to keep. This was chopped a little while back, right here where my finger is. There's one chop mark, and then the other chop mark is underneath this dying leaf here, right there. So as you can see, we've got some leaves falling off. There's a little bit of stress on the tree. And one of the things that I'm curious about this tree and why we're working on it today is one of the times that we repot. Now, about a year ago, I repotted my Thanksgiving cactus because it just didn't seem like the water was being evaporated very well into the soil. And so I'm going to go ahead and water this for you right now as I typically would, and it was watered recently. And we'll just sit there for a moment. Now it's percolating, and usually when it's dry it takes longer, which is very common. But that was the percolation of some wet soil. Let's water it again. So a lot of times when I come down here and I water this tree, the water does sit there for a while, but eventually it does percolate. So I just have to make sure I water this one enough. Now the water's starting to come out on the sides. I do have my towel here handy to go ahead and soak some of that up. We'll go ahead and do that. So I don't think it's an emergency, but I think it's a situation where in the warmth and good aftercare I can give in this really nice plant room, regulated temperatures, regulated humidity, I'm going to go ahead and take this out of here and we're going to go ahead and repot this today because I just want to get a glimpse inside and see just what the root system is doing and what the soil is all about, because again, we have a little bit slower percolation than I would like, and so we're going to go ahead and do that. So we're going to clip off the bottom here, because this tree is tied in. I didn't think it was, but it is. I'm going to go ahead and shove these up a little bit and see what we get for movement. There we go. It was held across the front, just like that, kind of like a big giant staple there. And so let's go ahead and get this out, and we'll see what we can do with this tree. Now with my Thanksgiving cactus last year, it was the fertilizer that I was using that when the cakes disintegrated, they kind of seemed to have a film on there. And so the water just didn't seem to go through the pot very well, so I could get the water to where it needed to be. And when I repotted it, that thing has taken off. And if you watched the update on that show this year, on that tree this year rather, we had a lot of buds, just literally close to 100 or more buds. So we just watered it so it's really moist, and we're going to have lots of wet soil here. But we're just going to take a peek at this. Looks like we got, a little bit of really super fine particles from this soil. Maybe if it wasn't completely rinsed out in a really good fashion. Sometimes I've noticed with the lava rock, at the end of a year or two in the pot, when I look at lava rock trees that I've used lava rock for, you get that light red or that dark red lava sand at the bottom, and the water doesn't seem to percolate very well through that. And so I see a little bit of that at the bottom of this one, and so we're going to make sure we're going to rinse out our soil. Now I'm going to put this in new soil. It's going to be the smaller size, and it's just going to be akadama and pumice. We're not going to use any of the lava rock. Now I'm not sure what the whole debate is currently with the lava rock, other than to say it has been a common trend where lava rock is just not used as much anymore. people are going to mainly the akadama and pumice, and a myriad of other different things they use. So there's most of the soil off of here. So I'm going to go ahead and put this in a bin, clean this up a little bit, and we'll be back. So after rinsing it in some water a couple of times, we cleaned out the root system, and it's not too bad. This little cutting probably started the size of some of these thinner branches. Melon seed ficus will grow all kinds of little shoots like this. They'll just shoot a whole bunch of them up. And they can look kind of scraggly until you cut them back and let them grow and cut them back, and then you get this thick, nice trunk. So this is the trunk after about 3-4 years of development. It's still a really small tree. And, you know, I had someone recently sent a comment to me after watching some of my videos, and he asked, why do you have so many little trees, little sticks in pots, in bonsai pots? And that is the big debate, right? If you put it in a bonsai pot, it's going to slow it down. If you put it in a bigger pot or keep it in dirt for a while, it's going to grow bigger, and then you can have a bonsai tree. But this right now has just been really one of those journeys for me where I love taking something from super small, almost a seed, the cutting of a tree, and then you have every decision with this tree. I've made every single decision to make this tree what it is today. And you can see there's a pretty decent flare at the bottom here. What a nice nubari for such a small tree. So this could stay a really nice shohin tree, or of course over time it could get much, much bigger. But right now for me, I think it's going to be a great shohin sized tree, and I'm going to keep working on it like that. I've got a little tiny bud right there, a bud right there and there. Those are getting a little bit bigger, that guy right there, and the chops are way up there. So if I cut this all back and cut half of this foliage off, we'd even get more buds down here. I don't need that little bud right there. So what I'm going to do now, though, is I'm just going to sort out these roots. So this one kind of comes out and squiggles to the right there, and then it kind of comes around and curves back this way. We're going to go ahead and cut that root off. And it also separates over here in a couple spots, but you see this top root right here? This is growing up from that root. We're going to cut that off. And I don't know if you could see before at the angle of the light, but there's a line right here, and that's where that wire was when we tied it in. We don't want those wire marks, so we're not going to tie this one in this time. Now, this one right here is getting long. We're going to come back to where it's going upwards. We're going to cut that off. And this one's still a little bit tall, so I'm going to come back here and shove this down that way, right there. And again, I cut it this way. I cut it this way so hopefully the more roots will shoot down. Okay, we're going to come over here now, and this one's getting kind of long, so we're going to cut that one back right about there. And this is pretty nice and ramified. We got a little bit of a bump right here. Let's investigate this. Yeah, we got this weird root that's growing up and then back down. We're going to cut that right off right there. So you can see that little white mark there. That's where it was growing, and it went up. Not a very desired position there. And then this one's kind of high up on this plane right here. We'll just snip that little one off there. I'm going to cut this back a little bit more. There we go. And then these are a little bit long out here, so we'll just go ahead and cut these back, and we'll promote some further growth and separation and division here. Because one thing you have to remember too is when you have roots down below, when they divide, that provides more of that division up above in the future, right? So we're making ramification down below to have ramification up above. And so this right here is kind of a thick root that I tried to cut down here. We're going to cut a little bit of these roots right here off, these roots right on top. A nice taper here. This one is still growing up, so we're going to cut that off right there. And we're going to hopefully get some more growth underneath that section right there. So there we have our tree with a pretty decent radial root pattern. There's a big thick one right here that we just cut back a little bit. As a matter of fact, I'm going to cut this one off right here too. There we go. Now it's not going at an angle. Nice radial coming straight off the trunk from most of these nice roots. Another nice one over here. And then we have a little bit of a gap over here, not quite as full of roots there. We're going to hope that that continues to do well in the future and get some more roots, and we'll have a nice all the way around tree. So there is the root system all cleaned up. Didn't look too bad. And now we're just going to give it some fresh soil, and so this will be able to percolate really, really well, and we'll be able to monitor the balance of water and oxygen over the rest of this season in the plant room. I'm going to rinse out the pot, and we'll put it back in. So here we have the pot all cleaned up. Got a nice layer of soil in there, and we can put our tree in here. We have to see what we want to do with this tree now. Now we have the split in the tree to the left and the right. And I have to see if this is going to make a better front or the other side. Now the problem with this as a potential front is there's a little bit of a divot there. I don't know if a critter chewed off some there, an old branch that was cut off. So not as favorable at the moment. So maybe this could be a nice slant to the tree and we can grow it up more this way. So I think we'll do that for this iteration. Okay, we'll just kind of put it in there. Just like that. Just a little bit of an angle there. And we'll fill it up with our soil. Now without the wire in here, we're going to have to be nice and gentle. We don't want to move this thing around too much, especially in the beginning as the roots try to get established in their new position here, in the new tree, new soil. We're going to let these roots start to take hold. So not a whole lot going on underneath this tree. We smooshed it down into a nice mound of soil. And then I have my towel close by. So what I can do is give it a nice little squirt of water. Because when it has nice wet soil, that holds the trees into place really nice as well. So there's some water right there. We have the water running around, so here's my towel. We'll see if we can clean that up just a little bit, and there we go. So we have this new tree just slightly changed in the pot, just a slight angle to it. And of course, it's a young tree. We're going to do a lot of styling on this thing in the future. And so we have time to make decisions on this tree. But look at how nice that flare is at the bottom. Just a nice little nabari. I love that, how that's turned out really, really nice. And so now I'm just going to give a little bit of a prune or two to take out some branches we don't want. Now, right here in this tree, right as we look at it now, this is coming out right from the crack of the two branches. And so we're going to go ahead and get rid of that. That was right here, right in the middle here. I'm going to hold the tree now and get that a little bit cleaner. And there we go. That was right in the middle. There's another one growing right here that's growing inside of the tree. Let's get rid of that one. And I think this one is even going to come off because it's growing so much to the left. And there we've opened up this center a little bit so we can have other branches move and shimmy their way where they need to go. Here's a small one right up here in the front that I don't want. I don't know if that one's going to stick around. So there we go. Now we can see through that where the tree splits, and this is the primary branch, if you will, of this tree. We'll go ahead and make it a little bit shorter. We'll go ahead and make it a little bit shorter. We'll make it a little bit shorter and shorter. Just going down to a couple of leaves, 2 to 4 leaves. Not a huge major thing, but just getting it shorter so we can spread back some more of that energy. And that's that side of the tree. And as we got to do the tall side of the tree left, this one is kind of coming out at us, but a little bit more to the right. I'm going to leave that for now, but we are going to cut this guy right down here. Really weak branch that didn't do so well. Now I've got this one down here, which is kind of a bar branch to this right here. I don't want that, but I'm going to keep this one down here in case that's the first primary branch, especially if this is a shohin tree. If this is a shohin tree and it stays below 8 inches, this will be a good first branch, and this could be a good second branch. We can have a third branch up here. Now that would be this one here. It's not quite a bar branch, and because this is a short shohin tree, we want these branches to be going every other a lot quicker in the design. And then there's one in the back here too that's not on any of the planes, and we'll just leave that for a little bit longer and see if it does survive. Now this big branch that we do look like we're going to keep here, this one's going inside, so we're going to cut that off. And then again, we're going to shorten to an outside leaf. We're going to shorten to an outside leaf. We're going to shorten to a front and right leaf, hopefully. We're going to shorten this to an outside leaf. So there's that section right there. And now what we have is that back little section right here. And if we go ahead and just shorten this right here, and shorten this right here, we could be done right there. We've just cleaned this tree up enough just to make it look a little bit more a little bit more compact, a little bit less crowded. We'll get a little bit of back budding on here. We've got new fresh root trims. We've got new fresh soil. I think this will be in really a good state here in the plant room. And again, when we're trying to balance water and oxygen, now that I have this small soil that's brand new and freshly cleaned and in good shape, I think the tree is going to be in a good spot. So we have a couple of more branches in here. There's one more in here that's going really in towards that left side, so I'm going to take those two little ones out. That was pretty nice. So that keeps that path in there just a little bit nicer. There we go, get rid of that. And then as we look here in the back, we've got these two branches right here. There's two growing from the same spot. And I'm going to take this left one off and promote the one going more straight out the back for more radial design. So it's coming out radial. So that's this branch right back here. So there's one up here, but there's one back here a little lower, and that's going to fill up that side a little bit better. So right now, we have this lowest one right here. We got the next big one here. There's one in the back that's in between there. And then there's this guy back here and this guy over to the left here. So we have a nice little array of branches. I think that'll work out. Now we have a little bit of a stump still here. We can let that go for a little bit longer and make sure I don't damage any of these fine little new branching. And we'll cut and nibble that off a little bit later. I could nibble just a little, but I want to keep the angle the way it is. And I think we're just going to leave it alone right there. So there we have our new tree in the same pot with fresh soil. Now the percolation, the water is just going to go through. So you give it some water, and it's just going to go right through and want to leak down towards me. So very nice. That one is fixed. We'll put that back on the shelf and we'll see what other puttsin we can do in the plant room. Now next up in the plant room, I thought we'd putz a little bit with the Tiger Bark Ficus. So this is one I got from a workshop from 2 years ago now. It has this really fun gnarly bark. I love the trunk of this one. You know, it's got all these bumps and bruises and nooks and crannies, and it's just fantastic, right? We've got our rebar on here, which is hopefully keeping these branches low, and we could even go a little bit lower with this one if we want to. You see how it's loosening up right there? Let's go ahead and see if we can twist that up and make it a little bit lower. So let's do that first. Let's get this down here and twist it up. There we go. There we go. So just that subtle little bit of difference made that branch go down a little bit lower. And we could twist it this way a little bit too if we had another wire on there. All right, there we go. My wires are kind of twisted on each other down here, so that's kind of makes it more prone to snapping down the road. But now we got that branch a little bit lower here. And now it's kind of competing against this branch. You see that? So maybe this one has to go lower as well. So this wire is strong enough, I can just bend it, and there's our new branch. All right. So there's my tree. We've got kind of a conical shape here, as we often do in the design of trees. Definitely with our conifers and pine trees. So this one, slow but sure, is starting to be doing some really nice things. We've got this branch down here, this bud down here, so if I cut more here, we might get some more back bud in here. What I'm looking for is maybe a split somewhere in here and some more growth, and we can cut this all the way back. This is a big branch too, that's getting thick, we can bring that back a little bit too. So as this branch is growing right now, we have one growing up right here, so I'm going to cut that off. That was growing straight up in the air. And I like how this branch is laying right here, but you see this is an up in the air too? We're going to cut that off. And now we have this branch that splits into two. Here's a new growth right here. It looks like, I don't know if I broke that off a little bit. I think it might be damaged. So we have a nice split here into two, and then this one splits into two right here, and this one splits a little bit further back, but not too bad. And again, this whole branch might be taken off someday. We're just not quite sure on that one yet. So a lot of these ficus trees have all these leaves that will grow in between where the new branches are, and you'll still get like a secondary little leaf down in there. So you can go through and clean out a lot of these leaves of your ficus trees, and you can get that energy more where you want it. And so I'm just cutting off some of these branches, some of these leaves rather. I'm going to cut this one a little bit shorter here. So there's one there's one branch all kind of cleaned up. And see, it's kind of in a pad shape. Again, it does split here to here, and then here it splits here, and there it splits there. Nice branch, but it's way over here on the tree. So if you're going to get good ramification on a tree like this, the tree's going to be this big someday, super big, which is fine for the future. But I'm hoping all of this energy that I've just taken away from the tip of this branch, what I really hope it does is I hope it sends back to that auxin, you know, the hormone that wants to make the trees get bigger, especially taller. And I want that to go back in here to hopefully get some back budding back in here. We have a nice fun curly branch here and coming this way. Maybe we can get a nice branch coming right straight out this way from this junction here. So we got one there to come in back bud. Maybe we can have it back bud here, here, or here, and then we can bring this back and bring everything back and have it keep growing. So that's that one all trimmed up. Now this one, we just bent down lower by a little bit, so we're going to keep that one pressured with the guy wire and see if we can continue to work this thing down. I'm going to move the wire protector here. There we go. So that one's got a nice movement to it. But now I have a branch that's almost, you know, they're kind of going this way instead of this way. But we can twist that later in its life. But if we do that, this will be in the wrong position. So I'm just going to go ahead and take that one out because this would twist a little bit more this way. So I'm going to go ahead and take this one out as well because there's growth behind it. And this one would bend down more if we did twist this. So we're just going to leave that there for the moment. And then this one has a nice split, but again, it's on top of each other more this way. We want more branches to grow out that way, but it's not horrible because it is moving this way and this one's starting to go back that way. So I'm going to cut this bottom section off to promote this growing more up for a little while here. I'm going to cut this straight up one going off here though. I think I'll cut this little nub right here off, makes it shorter. I'm going to cut this little nub off and cut this shorter here. I'm not sure where those branches are going to end, so I'm just going to make everything a little bit shorter now, and after we do some more wiring and cutting and stuff later, we'll see where those branches end up. Right now it's not too straight up and down, like two branches going this way, because this one kind of comes up and this one goes out. So I like the way that looks at the moment. And we'll cut this little thin guy off here. And so we've got these three possible growths here. But not in one exact spot. But here's another example of that leaf right here. There's a leaf right below this branch right there. So what we're going to do is we're going to cut that branch off and promote this guy coming out this way. So there we go. That little branch right there. Now this one back here, I've got a leaf there that I'm going to cut off, and I'm just going to shorten this guy to that one leaf. And I'm going to cut this left branch off and just shorten. And there's a branch going off this side. It's just longer and leggier. I'm just going to cut that off. And this one I can just cut this really, this is straight up right now, but remember this could be twisted down, twisted and bent down, and now we could save that branch possibly. Now the other part of this tree that's really interesting is I got this growth since being in the plant room. Look at that growth right there from the backside. And look where it's growing on the inside of a curve, but it's not bad. And if that swells up a little bit and grows, it'll look like a division of the tree right there. So I might leave that there for a little bit longer and see if it continues to swell up and see if that looks fairly natural from this part of the tree. But as you can see, there's a nice bulge right there. Well, I say nice, I don't mean nice. There's a bulge there that is too big, and that could contribute to that. Or it balances this bulge to where it gets thinner here a little bit more. We have that nice, more even taper. So we'll leave it for the moment. And then on this tree, we have this big old branch back here. It's starting to thicken up compared to these big, strict, tall ones here. We're going to go ahead and cut this one back because it's growing inside. And this one's coming right at us, so let's just get rid of it for the moment. Now this tree was a little bit this way, right? And it still is. You see how thin it is? We want this stuff to grow out this way. We want branching that way. So we're going to try to promote that. So if I cut this one down here to this lower branch, this can come out this way now. I'll make this top ones kind of come off to bring the energy to these right here. And we'll cut this one off to not compete with this one, and then this now shoots over this way. So we'll cut it off right there, and we're going to promote the growth, hopefully, of right here. We've got two leaves, and that could come out here and promote some more thickness on this tree. And this one, again, is going to be possibly, we could bend or move that down the road. Now this branch back here is super long and the same length all the way out. I think we're going to cut off the tip right there. There's a nice, goes into 3 right there. That's too much activity. And then we have this down here. We would like something maybe to bud over here on this right side. Again, otherwise this could be manipulated with wiring this way, and that gives us our thickness out back. So let's turn the tree over right there. If you go ahead and guy wire this next, we have some movement this way. And I might just do that. That could promote some nice growth there. And if you pull that out this way, that promotes more growth here, and this one can come out and we can see. So maybe I'll guy wire some of that today too in my putzing. So then we have this fun branch here, which has a really nice curve here up to here and some real nice branching. But then this guy shoots way back in towards the tree. Well, I don't want that shooting. I like this nice smooth movement out to here. We'll cut this out here, and we'll see what kind of back budding too we get down here. Maybe we'll have some new branches there. This one kind of comes at me. I don't want that right here. And here's another little leaf by the branch. So this one's coming and conflicting with this one. So we're going to cut that right out as well. We like this branch. I like how it comes this way and goes up this way, and it's not interfering with this too much. This is interfering at the moment, but I don't know what we're going to keep. What if we cut this back part of the branch off and keep this movement here, and then this one just goes and fills that space over there. So for right now, we're just going to leave it. I am going to cut the tip of that off there, and then we got this guy here again going up and over to the right. This is in between the branch. There's a nice back bud back there we might keep for the future. Let's cut this back one off, and let's just cut this shorter. That looks like it just needs some freshening up. And here's another leaf that we'll see what it does. And we'll just cut this tip off of this one as well. Then that leaves this back branch back here, which is kind of nice and thick. I like how it's going back for depth, so I don't want this going up right now. I'm going to keep that shorter and have it keep growing more out. So this over here is growing to compete against this stuff back here and here. So I'm cutting off this side. We're going to go back that way. And that does that really nice right there. So let's go ahead and just cut it off right here. We don't need all of that because now this branch comes out to the left, and then now I just, with directional pruning, put it off to the right. And we also have a branch down here in the back that can shoot out this way, more this way, to give us that thickness. So once again, look at that. I thinned it out so it made it thinner this way. But now we have some branching and leaves that can really start to go the direction that I want it to go. I don't think this one's going to work. I still don't like it. We're going to take it off. I don't want to bulge in this up anymore. We've got this beautiful thing back here grown, right? This is going to be a nice thick branch. Now it cleaned up all of that. We've got this kind of semi-dome shaped here, but again, more movement here with these low branches here. We've got this aerial root that took hold a while back, and that's supporting this big old branch here. I think what I will do here is I will clean up this bulge back here. So from the front, you can kind of see it, so we'll just kind of get rid of it. It's died off. We can kind of cut it and hope for some more healing. And it's in the back of the tree, so I'm not too worried about how that's going to look. So what I do know is right there, look at how much nicer that looks from your point of view on the camera there. That's going to look so much nicer back there. So we have this nice tree, and this is our main trunk of the tree still right here, one of these two, right? So if this one can grow up now, and here again, this could become the tree, or this could become the tree, and we'll cut this completely off and let this grow up and have the big portion of the tree up here with a couple branches over here. We could have kind of one of those kind of two-tier trees in the future. And you can see the crack in the middle. This is where the old cuts were, really starting to heal in and bulge in. Look at all that swelling there. It's kind of fixing all that up. I don't know that we can do any cleaning with that. That would be more like a Dremel tool. I could get in here and get rid of some more of this dead stuff right here and just kind of curve that out a little bit. So we could do that. So let's go ahead and add one more guy wire to this section right here and promote this branch right there and a branch that way. So let me get some guy wire activity going. We'll be back in a bit. So we want this to come down here. So we need to get a wire that's going to be underneath the legs of this guy and not scratching up the tables, although this is the plant room where we have things in plastic containers. So there's our wire coming up this way. Here's our wire coming up that way. And what I've tried to do is do the twisting off to the side. So we're going to go ahead and twist off to the side a little bit on this tree. Okay. So I've got just a little bit of air hose right here. This air hose is going to go right here, and we're going to protect this branch. Okay, so a couple of twists and we already have movement here, right? But now we want to make this movement so it goes the direction we want it to go in, not over there. Okay, so here we go. We're going to bring it this way. I think I'd be a little bit better served if I could get the whole branch here underneath this curve here, not underneath this wire. So we're going to go ahead and undo this for a brief moment. And I think we want wrapped around themselves. Okay. Couple of twists. So I got a little bit of movement here. And if I go ahead and make this a little tighter, it should hold it in place. So here's our bend. Right back here, we have a nice movement here. This is the lower branch, and this can go any way we want it to, and this is the new branch that goes up. It's nicely spaced between here and here. And then if I can continue to promote growth on this side of it, we can have it flow that way. And so with that, I will cut that one off. And I will cut this bottom one in here off. And we got two branches and a leaf back there. I think I'll leave all three of them there. We'll come back in here and cut this bottom one off. And there we go. So now we have another guy wire, 3 guy wires on this tree. No wire around the branches at the moment, but a couple of guy wires. We'll hopefully have this grow up this way. This can see what it does here, maybe some back budding down there. And then we have a nice branch that's could be some fun movement in there. All right. So that'll take some time. We've got a real thin tree. It's going to sit down in the plant room for a while and hopefully start doing some magic. Here's an update on the 40-year-old ficus. So this is a Ficus benjamina that I picked up from an MBS member whose wife said, hey, Dave, she wants me to get this out of the house. 40-year-old ficus tree. Got this on the spinner right here, and we chopped this thing pretty good. We got a chop up here, got a chop up here, a couple chops here and here, back over here. And this is just an update. That was a few weeks back. You can look at the playlist and check out the 40-year ficus and see when we did this exactly. I can put that up on the screen as well. And just the good news is that it is putting some new buds out there and doing a little bit of back budding. If you look right here in this tiny tree right here, there's a bud right way back there, right? So there's some new growth back there. There's a new bud right there. And so it's got some growth. Some real light leaf greens here. Here's another leaf that's between 2 branches, like I mentioned. And there's some new leaves right there. There's some new leaves right there. So nice young growth. And back in here, way back here, there's some new leaves in here. There's some new buds here and here. So this is doing good as well. Way up top here, there is some buds. And as we spin this thing around some more, there are a few other little tiny little nips of buds coming out in some of these branches. That's kind of a hard angle for you to see. So we do have some back budding, which is really, really nice. Nothing real big on the lower tree yet. No real buds that I'm seeing really super low, so we're gonna have to see what that next level of cuts are gonna be. But we know that we cut this thing at this odd time of year. There's a back bud right up here. And so if we cut this thing back some more, we know it's probably gonna back bud, but we don't wanna stress it out too much. We wanna make sure this thing keeps shooting out some new growth. And then once we see where the new growth is, like this branch right here, kind of hidden by the branches, there's 1, 2, 3, 4 little areas right there by that cut where there's new growth there. So they didn't go down the branch very far, but it is there, and so it is back budding, which is a good sign. We eventually want to get rid of all of this height. So this long branch back here, this long branch back here, these are all big long branches. So we want all this thing to be down here starting to leaf and then shooting back up. So we will be cutting this more, but we might wait until spring when we're going to have the really big push as we get it outside and see what it can do. So there's a little update for you. We do have some new buds, new growth. Things are doing well with the 40-year-old ficus tree. One final update for today is just the triangularis, the ficus, the variegated ficus triangularis. I pruned when we brought it into the plant room a couple weeks in, and I just pruned it again today a little bit. But I wanted to show you the cuttings from that first go around and I think all but one cutting is surviving. We had one more cutting over here, I believe, but we've got 4 cuttings there. And my friend Mary, who after seeing the show said, "Hey Dave, can you hang on to a couple of those cuttings for me?" Absolutely. So these will become Mary's trees, or at least a couple of them, whatever she wants. This is the Triangularis variegated ficus, and it's just some of the coolest leaves that I have. It reminds me of a ginkgo tree and some of those ginkgo leaves, but the variegation is so pretty. There's a yellowish color, the greenish color, kind of a pasty, cloudy white color in between the yellows and the greens in some spots there. And so what a fun tree. And I just keep cutting it back, and we're going to hope to make a really magnificent specimen someday, and hopefully Mary will have a tree as well. So a little puttsin in the plant room on the 1st of December. Boy, we've got 30 more days and we start a whole fresh new year. Oh, and keep in mind, I'm preparing a year in review video, and I'm going to premiere that on the winter solstice. So I believe that's the 21st of December. I think it's going to be about 8:47 p.m. Minnesota time. 8:47 p.m. is when winter officially kicks in, and that's going to kick in season number 6 of Dave's Bonsai. So, Mary, the trees will be yours soon, and everybody else, we've got a few more shows we'll do before then, but keep that date open, the 21st. We'll have a live premiere and chit-chat on the chat room, and have a good time, hopefully. Hey, until then, take care of you, take care of your bonsai, and we'll catch you on the next one.